just stacking up. He was just stacking up the damage to be Reels, and I believe he will be able to stabilize. But Amaz just didn't give him enough time. He just killed him. He just slaughtered him.
Turns 1 to 3 look absolutely beautiful at the moment, and if he picks up a really strong minion on turn 4 plus, he can also intervene it out and control the board completely. Amaz does have some good tools at his disposal, though. Things like the animal companions and even the Stranglethorn Tiger and Savannah Highmane. Those are great cards to have against Druid.
Those hands are so tricky. It's I was looking at a must hand first. I was like double animal companion. Oh wow, this is so good. And then Savannah Highmane, which is a pretty nice card in this matchup because it's so hard to remove for Druid. You can only silence with the Keeper of the Grove. But Realz doing his magic. Turn 1, Harvest Golem and Argent Squire. This is going to do a lot of damage.
Yes, and you know what? Even if the Ironbeak Owl comes out, it only does 1 effective damage to this Harvest Golem or the Argent Squire. And this is a very painful opening because now the Druid's able to continue to push out damage over the course of 2 or 3 turns and sneak in 6, maybe 9 or 12 damage even before Druid or Hunter can do anything about it.
On the other hand, well, definitely Ironbeak is a draw that you can play this turn, try to silence something, and if you get a Misha next turn, a 4/4, that will be pretty hard to deal with for the Druid. And Druid right now, Realz, he doesn't have a turn 2 play. He has the Harvest Golem for turn 3, but then his draws are kind of very important to get something that he will be able to play.
Yeah, Wrath or something would be really good if this becomes a Misha. If this is a Huffer, it's actually bad news for Amaz. Because then his opponent can pick up a really easy trade.
Stone Tusk Boar is actually pretty important as well, because then on turn 4 he will be able to play it with Animal Companion. So what is it?
Oh, it's a Huffer. And he's going to play for the board controller. That way he doesn't get a good trade with Power of the Wild. It makes sense. And another blessing for Realz to kind of climb back and continue his push.
Houndmaster, interesting. This will be a pretty nice turn 5 play. And he gets a Misha. This is pretty important because Misha is hard to remove. And Realz, no real turn 4 play. He will have to Hero Power if he wants to destroy that Misha.
That is a great moment for Amaz because now that Realz has missed and whiffed on a turn, that gives him the ability to reset, and he can play something like his Stranglethorn Tiger in response.
Oh, definitely he's playing the Stone Tusk Boar and the Houndmaster and just trading into something or just dealing damage because he is an aggressor. And if he feels that this is the moment where he should actually push with damage, Stone Tusk Boar, Houndmaster, 3 damage to face, and he starts from here. Next turn, Stranglethorn Tiger, and then Savannah Highmane, and suddenly his board is getting really big with all those creatures.
Okay, fair enough. He is again trying to play around buffs that his opponent can do, and trying to hedge his best to make sure he doesn't overextend and get board clear immediately. So he's not going for the damage. He's going again for the board control, which kind of what happens anyways, right? The Hunter, the first few turns, you seize control of the board, pave the way for your Savannah Highmane, and then when it comes down, then you push for damage and end the game.
Right now, that Black Knight is so sad. Just 1 mana off to be able to kill the Taunts. So only 1 more possible Taunt in the Hunter's deck with a second Houndmaster. That Black Knight might actually be useless.
Do you think there's any merit to playing Druid the Claw? I think Realz hesitated for a second to just try to think over all the possibilities.
It's a hard decision. I feel like a 4/6 was actually better. Druid of the Claw... Not really. I feel like Druid of the Claw might actually be better later because you still have the flexibility to attack or to get a taunt. So you felt like you're still fine with 26 points of health. And that Spectre Knight will just be hard to remove as just a better drop.
Okay. No, I think it's very versatile because of this. Now he is able to trade the minions, stay at 2 health, which is still annoying for your opponent. Your follow-up, again, is not that great because the Highmane does represent a lot of damage. It puts you down to 16. And even so, you don't have the Keeper of the Grove to silence it, so there's still two hyenas to follow it up.
Do you play a Black Knight here? I don't think so. But by the way, Amaz was able to pick up a second Hellmaster. What are the odds? And if he uses it on the high main, he will have a really bad time. Unless we actually see a Black Knight here, which would be pretty sick. Because
a Black Knight doesn't really accomplish anything.
Oh,
Lotheb.
Yeah, Lotheb is a better card, definitely.
Lotheb does deny any spells from being played immediately, and I think it's an act of desperation, but this also gives the ability for Amaz to draw cards off of his Starving Buzzard. And I think now he can start chain drawing because his hand was looking decent, but the build off the board, but you want more options.
Right now, this Buzzard is so important. You just trade it 6/5 with 5/5, draw 2 cards, and then you can do anything you want. You can play the Tiger, you can play the Bow and a Hero Power. You will have 2 more cards. I feel like Tiger will be actually cool. Or you can just push with damage. It's just deciding if you're more of an aggressive player right now. So if you're the one dealing damage and racing, or if you're the one who can stabilize and actually get a lot of value out of the cards you have.
Yeah, you bring up 2 different lines you can take. You can play more of the board control, play something like Eaglehorn Bow, deal immediately with the threat. He also can play the Starving Buzzard and draw game. He's also going to just opt to go for board control, but also play the biggest creature he can. And that's going to proc Realz to drop something maybe like Black Knight, but even so, there's still minions to be left over with Hyena. Amaz has trying to streamline his damage, but as a result, is not going to be able to draw cards off his high main. Interesting choice.
Well, he still has a Tiger anyway, and he has a lot of beasts in his deck with double Web Spinner, the Stone Dog's Borg, and Animal Companion is out of the way, but still, this Black Knight is important, but it's not as good as it could be.
Ooh, Amaz draws an Explosive Trap, so waits to kind of stack in the damage.
Do you actually... I feel you drop Buzzard anyway. Or do you? Do you wait for like Unleash? This is actually interesting. Okay,
I think you don't have to. I think you just kind of push. You have the Tiger. You still have represented lethal. Your opponent has to deal with the board. And Realz is looking at, like, he might drop game number 3 unless he has something bigger to respond to everything. That Tiger represents so much threat because if Amaz top decks something like the Leroy Jenkins and his opponent doesn't have a way to stop it, this game is over.
On the other hand, Amaz doesn't have any beast in his hand. He only has the Buzzard. So he might draw into something, but he also might be drawing dead for a couple of turns. So Explosive Trap does represent 2 points of damage. He also has the Steady Shot, and this is the moment where the Hero Power is so important, but because whatever you draw, you always can deal those 2 points of damage. So you're putting the clock on your opponent, and right now, Realz should be able to deal with the board, kind of, but he won't be able to deal with the 5/5 and with the Bow, which is 8 points of damage. With Steady Shot, this is 10. With Explosive Trap, this is 2 more, and 2 more after that.
I mean, he can kind of start addressing the board, but he's really short on the mana. He doesn't have the ability to set up a taunt and go for efficient removal afterwards. He's missing his cards like Wrath, is like to be able to take out the Townmaster, clear off one of the Hyenas, and then set up a taunt. This doesn't feel very good for Realz. He's just going to have to go for a Power of the Wild and try to see if he can create the biggest wall possible.
And trades with a 4/3. This makes a lot of sense.
All right, he's got 5 damage.
Tracking.
Yeah, if he finds a Leroy, I think that's it.
Iron Beak? Okay, he only had 1 Iron Beak, so Iron Beak is out.
Just needs to find something like Leroy. Ooh, Hunter's Mark. That might also be able to squeeze in damage. Let's see, Hunter's Mark gets in 5 more. 5 plus like the 5 from the Hero Power. I think that's it. I think if he has Hunter's Mark, that might be the way to end the game. I think Amaz has jumped up to a 3-0 lead, if my calculations are correct.
That's it. You're right. That's exactly 10 points of damage right here, right now.
Amaz jumps out to game or match point already. And Realz has to rely on his last deck, which is his unique Warlock. I was not expecting this series to end 4-0, but Realz is not out of it. However, he has a huge mountain to climb.